ProWrestlingSheet.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Wrestling Sheet Radio. I'm your host, ProWrestlingSheet.com Editor-in-Chief Ryan Satin, here with my guest, Rocky Romero. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. It feels good. I mean, we're just talking off camera how professional this establishment is and how beautiful it is. So, thanks for having me come down.
Yeah, they actually just redesigned this room. This is the first time I have done something in the new redesigned room.
Just for me.
I don't want to pull the curtains back, but I'm literally pulling the
Never
curtains
pull
back.
the curtain back.
But they had a whole different design in here before, and this morning X-Pac was here, and I was bringing him a coffee. I was like, here you go. And I hadn't been in this room yet, and I was like, whoa, this is way better. I love this.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's legit here. I was telling you before we started, I sold the site about a year ago now, and it's nice having actual legit studios to record interviews and stuff.
I'm about to start a podcast, I feel like, and just do it here.
Again?
Yeah.
You can do another one?
Yeah. Rocky Romero podcast, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of competition out there.
Do you think Talking Shop would come back if they weren't in WWE?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. That alone makes me want to see them leave WWE because...
I feel like there's been a couple of tweets that have kind of already said that, if they obviously leave, but yeah, I think it definitely would. I think the people want it too.
I miss Talking Shop.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
It did such great on the Jericho podcast, So
I love those too, but it's not the same.
Not the same.
It's not quite the same.
But it definitely gave him a bump to people who didn't know they had a podcast. So then they had to go back and probably search out, those old episodes, and they're like, "What is this?"
And they're like, "Who is Drugs Delaney?"
Yeah, exactly. What a nightmare that podcast was.
No, it was great chaos. Man, I loved all the stuff you guys would do with that. Well, let's talk about one of the things that you have coming up here. Let's talk about the training seminar that you got at the New Japan LA Dojo on July 9th. Just before we started recording here, we were talking about X-Pac, and you were saying how some of the things that he taught you have been so key in your career and stuff. Are these kind of some of the things that you would like to instill on the guys coming up now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I got to work with Sean back in Mexico when we were part of D-Generation Mex, which always pops me that name. But all Sean's idea. But so it was we had the blessing, and then but just working with him and certain things elements of being a really good babyface and the comeback and how important the music is and just all the things that make him special and make him such a great wrestler. Were things he would say come on, you got to do this better, you got to do this better, and try it like this, and then I would do it and I'd be like, oh my gosh, who is this man? Of course, he's X-Pac. He's been doing this forever. He's really good at it. So he was a big influence on me and stuff that's I use in my matches now that are so super important. So yeah, those are the kind of things that I'd definitely be going over at the seminar on July 9th. And it's mostly for beginners and intermediates, but I did get a couple of requests of some veterans that want to come through. So the more the merrier. I just want to have an awesome 3-hour session where we kind of go through it all, and I hope that I can do this a bit more often. So maybe once every quarter and do it, do session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4, So eventually we'll get there, but right now it's just kind of the introductory one.
How long? Have you done any other ones at the New Japan LA Dojo yet?
Nothing.
This is the first one that you've done like this?
One.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's really cool, and it's going to be a little bit different than obviously the camps that we've had there because those are run by Shibata. So we'll have the influence of New Japan type always kind of in the background, but this is more of coming from me. This is not a special Shibata only where he's gonna whoop you into shape. And
he's doing the full New Japan experience.
Yeah, full New Japan experience. We'll have a little bit of it because obviously that's where my career has been for so many years, and I have that instilled with me. But this is my own personal way of spin on it, I should say.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really cool to see the success of the LA Dojo. That's where you initially trained was the old LA Dojo, right?
Yeah, the original LA Dojo. From 2002 to 2006, I was there. So the first class with Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe and TJ Perkins and Ricky Reyes. So. Pretty talented list there, so it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy when you see the pictures from those old sessions. Marquez will post some, or just in general, you'll see random ones, and I'm always like, man, the talent that was there is insane.
And it was such a weird place because, you'd go in on Tuesday not expecting anything, just the regular, okay, we're gonna do jiu-jitsu and get our ass kicked by, Antonio Inoki today or somebody. Okay, cool. And then all of a sudden, DDP would show up, and he'd be like, like talking wrestling to us for 2 hours, and we're just like, whoa, this is insane. And then like you go home, you're like refreshed, and the next day like Boss Root and show up, and then he'd be like, no, you got to hit people in the liver, and he's like punching us in the liver. Like it was like that was like the days. It was just wild. I wish there should have been like a reality show that was following it, because it was wild. It was such a cool, like, unique place.
Yeah, I would love to watch a documentary on that one day.
Somebody needs to make it. Maybe
someone definitely needs to make that, because when, like you said, I mean, the talent that went through there, the guys who were coming in to do training sessions and stuff, and just talk to wrestling with you guys, it's crazy. I mean,
so crazy.
It's almost comparable to like the stuff you see at the Performance Center now, where it's like they have so many different coaches coming in, and it's like a contained experience.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, it definitely probably is very similar to that at this point. I don't know. It was just so cool. It was some of my fondest memories, some of my worst nightmares, you know, because we had some crazy sessions where like we're dying.
What was the worst one?
In the middle of summer. Oh man,
it's hot here in LA
yeah,
too.
we had like Kendo Kashin, who was our trainer for a bit, and dude, he had us like running on the sand on like 105 degrees, like in Santa Monica. I mean, like you're like great Santa Monica, but trust me, it's not beautiful when you're going up and down like 100 flights of stairs, up and down. Like he had crazy stuff. It was terrible, but it made me a stronger person, though. I realized, you know, but you know, it was awesome. It was a great experience.
That stuff does build character. You know, right now I'm
built something. That's I don't know, character, hatred.
I've been trying to get in shape finally for the first time in my entire life, and I'm running an air-conditioned apartment, so it's not the same at all.
Not at all.
I couldn't imagine that at all.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'll have to step it up one day. You know, it's crazy too, because you know you have been, you know, you're a young dude.
Yeah.
But you've been in wrestling so long.
Thank you for saying that, by the way.
Well, you are. I mean, you're around the same age as me, so it's not like I don't think I'm old. So
so that's good. So you're saying it to put yourself up.
No, I'm saying we're both young dudes, you know.
I'm kidding.
And you know, but you've been in wrestling for so long. Like it's crazy because you know we're around the same age, and my fandom goes back to around the same time when you were already wrestling, and you have like a wealth of knowledge. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you're kind of like working behind the scenes and stuff too, because I mean you have so much experience for someone your age.
Thank you. I mean it's been a crazy journey. It really has. I wouldn't trade it for anything, because the experiences that I've had are really unique. I think even nowadays, where like wrestling is kind of open, right? Like you can, you know, AAA is hiring all the time. You know, you can go easily to go work in Japan now. You know, it wasn't back in the day when I first started. It was like harder, I feel, to do those kind of things.
Oh yeah.
So even though you can do them now, but like just everybody was in such a different place, you know. But like now, I started at that time where it was a bit harder to move up into the wrestling world, but now it seems like it's a bit easier. So like I kind of have like I've seen all these waves, you know, of how to do it, you know. So that's part of the reason I want to do the seminar, because I want to give younger talent, you know, just like, okay, I'm a success story, you know. I was just like you, especially I came from Southern California. I started EWF, very small company, even smaller than it is now. And, you know, look at all the things that I've done. And now you guys have it like a little bit easier, because just the world is smaller through the internet, you know. So it's like, yeah, you could have one match, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's popping and everybody's like, oh, I got to book that guy or that gal or whatever. You
totally.
know?
That happens all the time now. It's crazy.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So at that time, you know, before I was sending like video VHS tapes or DVDs and having my mom send them, like, because she worked for like some pharmaceutical company, but she would get like discount rates. So she would like, so I don't know how many tapes I sent to like New Japan, All Japan, no reply, nobody cared. But you know, now it's a lot easier. You know, you can talk to, you know, somebody who works for New Japan, and just like, you never know, cold calling and just being like, hey, would you mind checking out my stuff? You know,
totally.
You know, if the stats match up and it's something that they're looking for, you may get an opportunity. It's just that easy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that everything's just available at everyone's fingertips now, their phone, that you have just on your phone access to everyone, you know, I mean, that stuff it's a game changer. And you know, one of the things that impresses me a lot about you is the fact that you are from Southern California, and Southern California has never really been, besides PWG, but it's still not like the hotbed of indie wrestling, you know. It's the East Coast for indie kind of stuff. And
Midwest,
so,
right?
Yeah. So to see someone like you who is, you know, maintained as long as you have in the industry and being from SoCal, like that impresses the hell out of me because there's not a lot of guys out here from SoCal that are doing that kind of stuff. That did that.
Yeah, it's a very short list, but I feel like it's all like kind of around my generation of guys.
Absolutely.
You know? Like Chris Daniels is a little bit older than I am, but you know, like he was around there when I first stepped into my first training session. He was like there, you know? So Frankie Kazarian's another one.
Samoa Joe,
TJ Perkins, another one, you know? So like
those, honestly, that list right there is the list pretty much.
Yeah, that's the list pretty much. That's true. That is the list pretty much. But it blows my mind too. So that's what I always, whenever I do like a session or something, or I do any kind of training with folks from Southern California, I'm like, I know it feels like an island out here, but trust me, you can do it, you know? So I kind of want to be that voice to just kind of help, like, the younger generation be like, no, you go for it. Don't stop. You know, like, look at Scorpio Sky. He's a great example of somebody who didn't stop.
Yep, totally.
You know, it took him so long, so many years to just get an opportunity. When he finally got the opportunity and somebody took the chance on him, look at him now.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
totally.
You sometimes, you know, not everybody's road is going to be easy, you know, but if you stick with it and you have some kind of talent and your determination is there, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it eventually is going to happen. Somebody's going to take notice. Somebody's going to be like, you need to just take a look at this guy or this gal or whatever, you know.
I think that kind of happened for Jungle Boy. He's one of the more recent ones. That him and Brody King are two examples of guys who kind of like, you know, kept pushing. I mean, because Jungle Boy too, wrestling since he was like a little kid. I mean, he is still a little kid, but you know, but pushed and pushed and pushed, and really were able to blossom. Brody King too, you know, someone who was. I sat next to him at PWG shows all the time. Like, he was a straight up fan out here, and to see that he, you know, hustled the way he did and was able to get a job with Ring of Honor because of it, it's awesome. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, he's a guy who came and trained with me back when I was training with Marquez's school, and whenever I was off, I was doing like training sessions, and he was a guy who, you know, this was the crazy thing too. It's like, how much do you want to put into it is how much you're going to get back too, you know? So it's like, I did have this opportunity to meet, you know, new talent and stuff. They should come, you know, hey, they were always spreading the word, like, you should come train Rock, you should come, like, a very short list of people came to that. And it's like, you should take that opportunity, right? But Brody was one of the people who did, you know? So, like, I got to connect with Brody on a personal level. I got to train with him a lot. I could see where his talent was and where it could be, you know? And, you know, he's a person that I could say since day one, like, oh, I would take a chance on him. Mm-hmm. So if people ask me, like, oh, what do you think about this Brody King? I'll be like, you should take a chance on him. Just as easy as that, you know? So
did you push for that at all behind the scenes at with New Japan to kind of bring Brody over?
Well, you know, we saw Brody in a couple years ago at the what was it? The
Walter Pyramid
show. They have a training camp every what's his name? He's a legend. I can't remember. In the St. Louis area. Harley Race.
Okay. Oh God.
yeah. Come on. Sorry. That was a brain fart. So at Harley Race's camp. So Brody wasn't ready then. You know what I'm saying? But you could tell where Brody's potential was going to be in a year or two, right? Mm-hmm. So you know, ROH saw him, the Delirious saw him there, I saw him there, New Japan officials saw him there, and we was like, oh, okay, this guy's good. He's just not ready yet. But this is the kind of person you just keep an eye on. Mm-hmm. Let them develop a little bit on their own, mm-hmm. whether they're going to do it or not. This will be the make and break point, you know. So then he did. You know, he got his way into ROH, you know, and then yeah. I mean, if he comes to New Japan and somebody says, "Hey, what do you think about that Brody King character?" I'm going to say, "Yeah, for sure." You know, yeah, it's a complete go. Please do it. You know?
I actually get amazed. I remember I feel like when you were doing those seminars, is around the time I was working over at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and I would always be surprised when there wasn't a lot of people taking advantage of that. And when I listened to an interview that Drew McIntyre did this week talking about WWE, and he was saying the same thing, that like there are people who complain about not getting the opportunities that they feel like they should have coming to them, but they're also not always putting in the work to make that happen. And that really is important, I think.
Right. Because everybody's trajectory is different, you know? Like, some people are going to be handed stuff. And that's fine. That's just the way that their story is going to go. Some people, you have to work really hard and it's going to take forever. Some people are somewhere in the middle of that, you know? So it's like, you just got to go with the flow and be cool with whatever it is. Don't be envious, you know? Don't, you know, like, just use it as positive fuel to always try to push yourself forward, you know? That's the important thing. It's like, you can't be too worried about everybody else, you know? That's one thing I've tried to, like, not have that mindset of like, oh, I'm worried about what this person or this person's doing. It's like, no, just, you know, grab the ball, put your head down, go forward no matter what, and you're gonna have that continued success. I think it's just momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone asked me the other day. They said like, "What's the one thing you've learned the most in starting your site?" And that was what I said of just not focusing on your competition and that it detracts you from like what your end game is. And yeah, that the focusing on your competition will just ruin you.
And it gets like then becomes it can get petty for you,
Absolutely.
And then you're like you're worried and you're like, well, this person's doing this and that. It's like, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. Just do your thing. If you do your thing and you're doing it right, then people will be attracted to you.
It's kind of how I feel about social media lately in general, where I see people like, they're like, oh, well, you can't complain about this because you said this once or whatever. And then it's like everyone's saying like, well, you can't say that. You've said this, and it's this giant like
trap.
It's this weird trap of like everyone saying you can't say anything, and it's like, what? Like, who? You're not even mad about the thing that you're pointing out. You're just trying to prove a point. You're just like, well, look what they did one time.
Everybody's always down. Everybody wants to point the finger whenever they can, So I try to just stay away from social media stuff. I just try to like post about what's important and kind of get the. I try to get away from. I have no opinions on there. If you know me personally, we can talk, But other than that, I don't like. It's just such a trap, and it's there until you delete it, or it's there forever, So it's just like that's not what my MO. That's not what social media is about for me. It's not about. It's not a personal thing. It's truly a business tool. So
yeah, it's funny and
to connect with people who care about what I'm doing.
Yeah, totally, absolutely, and it has kind of gotten away from that in more recent years.
Yeah.
But I did notice that about your Twitter page. I went on before we were doing this to kind of like, let's see if there's anything he was like talking about, the extra I throw in my notes just in case. And I was like, no, it's a lot of promotional tweets.
It's all promotional tweets. My wife gets so angry. She's like, why don't you post pictures of me and do this and that? It's like, I don't do anything personal on there. I was like, I don't want anybody like to know anything about like unless I want to say it in like an interview and because then it's like I feel like it's special, If I'm like I like to connect with people and like talk to people one-on-one.
Totally.
Doing it on social media doesn't feel like it's like connecting with anybody,
Absolutely.
Like it doesn't really feel like that to me. It feels kind of like there's a wall there, So
totally.
This kind of intimate setting is perfect.
I love it. Yeah, no, me too. And I'm trying to do more stuff like this and pull back on social media a little bit because I think, and there's a lot of people I think that use Twitter since it started till now that are kind of realizing that. I don't know. It's kind of all fake on. It's just like this giant fake fest on there. That there's nothing real on there at all, and so
it's not genuine.
No, it's not genuine at all. Even the compliments, the insults, like they're just not genuine. It's just people trying to waste time.
And like it's funny because it's all about people's moods too. Because like if you want to go on there and you want to hate, you can totally go on there. And hate. If you want to go on there and you're like happy mood, you're like I'm gonna like this. I don't even like this person, but I'm gonna like their stuff. Like totally. It's so. Random, it's like, ugh. Yeah.
It's hard to pull back though. I've also been the same way. It's so addictive. My girlfriend, it's like, well, why don't you retweet this thing of mine or whatever? And I'm like, I'm trying not to like talk about my personal life on there anymore. And it's hard because when I started the site, it was like I started tweeting all the time because I thought if people don't notice the difference between what's a news story that I'm tweeting and just like my tweets, it won't look like I'm only using Twitter to promote stuff and it'll feel more genuine.
Right.
But then I put too much out there and now I'm like, it's like this like
you can't take it back.
No.
Right? Yeah, once it's out there, you can't take it back.
Oh, trust me, I know. Speaking of once you put it out there and you can't take it back, I know that we're gonna move on from the Twitter stuff.
Sorry, guys.
But I did find it interesting, on Twitter today. I saw Seth Rollins. He was like waving the WWE flag today, talking about how WWE has the best pro wrestling on the planet. And of course, as Twitter does, as we were just talking about, they were all freaking out about it. What about New Japan? What about this? What about that? What did you think about Seth Rollins kind of putting that out there today? Did you see that tweet?
I did see that tweet. Yeah. Good for him. I think good for him because, he's maybe he's like, he's one of their main stars, right? And he's kind of a flag bearer for them, and it's important to, I think, especially in kind of what's going on with all these new companies popping up, and for wrestlers, there's so many options, and for fans, there's so many options. So, like, I think now we're in the time of like people trying to have pride in what they're doing, and obviously, I didn't see the show yet, but from what I've heard is like they really tried to make a statement this last
Definitely.
event, right? So to be like, hey, we are trying to give fans what they want too. It's not just this one way or whatever.
Absolutely.
So I think it's good. I think that's good, a healthy way for competition in business. So it's good for the professional wrestling business, good for the fans, good for the wrestlers. It's like, what's wrong with a little healthy competition when you saying like, we are still the best, or we are this, or we are that? I mean, hey, I do it for New Japan all the time because this is where I eat. I mean, they feed me. I eat the food. I take that. I'm able to have a house in Los Angeles. I'm able to, I support the product because I believe in the product. With all my heart, believe in New Japan as a product, and I've been there for a long time. And that's one of the reasons I haven't left, is because I truly believe in the product, and what we're doing is great. So, kudos to him. I think it's cool.
That's exactly how I felt about it. I was like, of course he would do that. He like you just said, you put in all your time with New Japan, so you obviously feel that way about them. That's why you do that. Of course, you feel the same way. Right. I would honestly think it would be fucking ridiculous if he didn't feel that way. Yeah.
No, and that's the thing. If you don't feel that way, then you should probably get out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally.
Or wherever you're
like
at.
a Jon Moxley.
Exactly.
And that's a perfect segue, because Jon Moxley is part of the G1 Climax. He's not going to be at the Dallas event, but he is going to be part of the tournament itself. And, man, this tournament, it's shaping up, man.
It's sick.
It is looking intense. Like, I was like,
sick.
Man, like the matches that are going to be happening, just in general, I was like, man, this is a good bracket.
You know what makes it very unique, I feel like, is this year all the people who are in it, but then all the people who are not in it, So, like, see what Suzuki's been doing and how angry he is about not being in it, and there's some very deep-rooted feelings that go along with that, and especially somebody who, at his age, I feel like, is the company saying like, no, hey, your time has passed before his time has kind of passed, It's like, who's like, what's really going on there, and the underlying factor. So like, it's pretty interesting story that's developing. And then like, obviously Makabe's not in it, and some of the other Kojima, some of the stars that we have been in for so many years, and all of a sudden they're not in it. They didn't even say like a farewell or anything, or will they be back next year? I mean, there's so many like questions that are out there. And then all of a sudden you have, Jon Moxley who's in it, which is crazy.
Totally.
Shingo Takagi, who should be in it no matter what.
He's killing it these days.
He's amazing.
Oh, he's so
good. He's amazing. And I also like that, the other storylines like Will Ospreay being is like, you don't have to necessarily be a full-on heavyweight, all throughout the year. Maybe you can kind of play in between, which is kind of cool, because, I mean, you see that in boxing and in MMA, where, like, you can go up and down in weight classes depending on what the schedule is, or where the fight is, or where the money is. I mean, that's how it should be, too. I mean, there should be some players that go back and forth, I feel like, so I think it's kind of cool. And it's just loaded. It's loaded. Dallas is going to be insane. First time ever, Tanahashi versus Okada in the main event in the U.S. on U.S. soil.
Honestly, I'm so bummed I'm not seeing that.
How are people like not going nuts? Like,
no,
I feel like everybody's like very underwhelmed about that.
I'm not a huge Texas guy, so I was like, I don't want to go to Texas. Right. Like, it's kind of close. It's like close enough, but I was like, I don't know. And then I saw that, and I was like, well, I fucked up. I should have gone to that. That would have been awesome,
Right.
But
then Kenta's got a big statement, obviously, to make against Ibushi. His first match outside of WWE.
And it's against Kota Ibushi of all people. That's going to be. I can't wait for that.
So it's like, where does Kenta lie right now? Like, coming off of WWE, we didn't really see the person that we thought as Kenta, right?
Totally.
Hideo Itami was a completely different wrestler than Kenta was. So let's see what he does. And it's like Kota Ibushi, like, maybe a godlike wrestler at this moment, who's just like the perfect wrestler, He's
the perfect person to put against for his first post-WWE match like
Absolutely.
that. I can't wait. And, I listened to the interview that Chris did with Kenta a few weeks ago. I think it was like last week, maybe the week before. And I really do. I'm very interested to see Kenta, where he's allowed to do all the stuff that that got him over. He really wasn't allowed to do a lot of the things that got him over.
And at this point, it's like, well, let's see what you really were able to do and where you weren't, and let's see what the truth really is too, because nobody really knows, right? Nobody was in those meetings besides Kenta and whoever his boss was. So. I think that's kind of interesting, because we're kind of like, that's like a storyline that's going around right now in Twitter, is like, Drew said like, you know, like, oh no, we're allowed to have this.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people are saying different things, but obviously everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
You know? So like, I'm curious to see like how that plays out too. You know?
Me too, because I think that, you know, I remember I was there at the house show that NXT did WrestleMania weekend a few years back that wasn't like a takeover or anything like that. And it was the first time that Hideo Itami was allowed to do the go to sleep in WWE or NXT.
Right.
And I'll never forget that pop. It was one of the biggest pops I ever witnessed live.
I remember that.
It was the coolest thing. And so I just have faith that, like, because it seemed like a lot of because so many of his like signature things were taken by people in WWE, it just never felt genuine to him there, because that audience was like, well, it's CM Punk's move, or that's Daniel Bryan's move.
That's true.
And I have a feeling like when he's allowed to be himself again, it's gonna feel different. It's gonna feel better.
And I think especially in the New Japan environment where it's like, you know, like I feel like fans too, like especially U.S. fans, which is so cool, is like they like the fans that come to our shows, like the New Japan shows, are like super respectful. Like they feel like they I don't know. I feel like they're trying to be on their best behavior, and that's just what they are. They're just the best pure fans of all time. That seems
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're even more appreciative than I feel like than they would be at like a WWE show or whatever, which is so cool. And like, please don't ever change. We love you. And I don't know. It just seems cool. Like I think Flip Gordon might have said that one time. He's like, oh man, like, you know, I think he actually said, it was a pretty funny quote. He's like, oh, these Japanese fans are great. And we're like, but we're in the U.S. He's like, but that's what he was trying to say, is like they're
like the Japanese
fans.
the
Japanese fans, you know, like very respectful. Like as opposed to like, you know, sometimes when you go to an indie show or whatever, WWE or whatever, that it's, you know, like they can be a little harsh on wrestlers sometimes. You know?
So I bring my girlfriend, and like she's not like, she likes wrestling because of me, but she's not like lifelong diehard fan, and she'll hear them like yelling mean things like a Nia Jax, and she's like, why are they saying that? That's so mean to say to someone. And I'm like, oh, it's just like kind of what happens here, but it's not really okay. But like I don't really know how to like
we
explain
just like tolerate it.
We just tolerate it.
It's like kind of a part of the show, but it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw someone at the WWE show here last week that was just like screaming the meanest things at Bayley. And I was like, oh man. And then I looked, and they were in a wheelchair too, and I was like, well, they have full say to they can do whatever they want. Like,
Go for it.
He was like cussing and saying all these mean things. Like, you haven't said the word. I was like, all right, I guess like Bayley.
That's like such an example though of what pro wrestling is too, is because like you go to get all that frustration out of your life and what's going on and everything, you're going to take it out on these characters, right? Because they're kind of set up that way to kind of take it out on these characters that you couldn't normally do at the grocery store with
totally
them, you know, and you shouldn't do it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like it's kind of okay in this to like, yeah, get it out, you know? Like my grandma used to throw flipping chanclas at the TV show or at the TV every Saturday.
While you were watching it.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I think I became a wrestler, is because she had so much like energy and like she loved it so much. Like we would be watching TV and she'd be like 5 feet away and she'd be throwing her shoes at the like.
Was there anyone specifically that she really hated that you remember?
You know, she didn't like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and I had to explain to her that they were good guys, but she didn't like. She was old school. She was like, I don't like them because they have long hair. And then she hated this was like even before that, you know, anybody against Hogan. So it was like, you know, the Iron Sheik or whoever it was, you know, at that time. Or
is she still around?
No.
Has she seen? Did she get to see you wrestle though?
She's, you know, she had a couple of strokes, so by the time I did wrestle, she went to like one match or something, and she just hated it. She didn't even. I don't even think I feel like she couldn't even remember that she liked wrestling.
Yeah.
At that point.
That sucks. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So, and she just couldn't get. She's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna get hurt. She just kept saying in Spanish like, oh, why do you let them do that to you? It's like, oh, you're gonna get hurt. Why is your mother? Where's your mother? Why is she letting you do this? Like, it was more like dramatic like that.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so we talked about the Dallas event on July 6th. Like you said, Okada versus Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi versus Kenta, Ospreay versus Lance Archer, Evil versus Bad Luck Fale, Sonata versus Zack Sabre Jr. But, you know, that event has been known for a good little bit now. Mm-hmm. What did you think about AEW announcing All Out and NXT announcing their UK takeover the same day as Royal Quest? Did you think it's bad, helpful, not good?
I mean,
Bummer.
AEW, I don't think not really.
Different times.
Because different time zones, different countries, maybe not, we're not really stepping on anybody's, on anybody's toes, really. I thought the NXT one was a bit interesting because then you're right in the same country or
same backyard.
Same backyard, I should say. And, and I wonder, who's to really say? We can all just speculate if it was intentional or not to possibly, hurt our business. You never know. I mean, everybody's
business.
It's business. We're all competing for the same, fans. So why not? I guess. And they're also trying to maybe prove a point, like, hey, we have this brand. Don't forget about this brand. This is your brand. In the UK, by the UK.
That's the vibe I got from it. That this was like, hey, we are UK guys. This is something we're building for you.
Right.
But also, it didn't have to. I feel like it didn't have to be the same day. Like same time, same.
Could have been
day.
a week later, 2 weeks later. I mean, it was still would have affected, but I don't know. Whatever. I mean,
do you think that? Because like we were saying, this card does look fire. This does look like an awesome card. Do you feel like NXT UK being announced at that time has energized some of the performers to kind of show why they feel like this is the show that they should be watching, the fans should be watching?
In NXT? Or
No.
In New Japan?
New Japan. Or do you think they already kind of go into every match thinking that?
I think they go. That's just the staple of New Japan is just you go in no matter what as hard as you can, and give the people what they desired and what they paid for. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that changes it. I mean, that's kind of like the Japanese way of doing anything is like you just go 150% no matter what. It's like you whatever you're doing, whatever job it may be, you have a lot of pride in what you do, and you just do it always to the best of your ability. Whether you're cleaning something, cleaning the floors, or you're doing high quality professional wrestling. Yeah.
No. Absolutely. And I think that I'm interested to see what people are talking about the most coming out of it because, like you said, Okada versus Tanahashi it's gonna be a banger. I mean, there's no way that's not gonna be a banger. And I'm also really looking forward to Ospreay versus Archer.
Right. Well, we don't even know what the London card is gonna be.
Oh, what am I talking about? I'm talking the G1.
Yeah,
what am I talking
G1.
about?
So I mean, we don't even know what Royal Quest is gonna be, and that's gonna be coming off of the heels.
I have the wrong one written down.
Yeah, no worries.
There's these G1. There's 50 G1 matches here in front of me.
Coming off the heels of the ending of the G1 will be Royal
Quest.
Why. So like we'll see what comes out of that, So what obviously there's going to be some people beating somebody, and champions will be involved. So hopefully that will reflect into the London card.
Regardless, I want to see Will Ospreay's match on the show because man, Will Ospreay's been working at another level right now. You mentioned Shingo, but so is Ospreay. Dude, that match between the two of them was bonkers. Like that was one of the best matches I've seen in a while.
It's one of the best matches maybe I've ever seen. I feel like like it could definitely be on that kind of list. Dude, Will Ospreay is not human. Maybe, maybe made from some kind of ancient alien god. Like their seed somewhere was sprinkled down and then fell from Earth. Like I feel like I'm in an Ultimate Warrior promo right now. But that's what you would do when you describe Will Ospreay and his matches. No, he really is just. I think some people were looking for like I don't know why people. We kind of tend to do this. Like culturally, is like we tend to look like when one person leaves and they have to fill another person's shoes.
Yeah, totally.
So like when Kenny left. Then it was like, Jay's going to be that person or that. It's like nobody can be anybody, There's not going to be a next Kenny because Kenny is Kenny,
Of course.
But it does make room for more people to rise. And, we saw Jay rise. Jay's done a great job, but he's a different kind of character, than like a Kenny Omega. But then there's a person like Will Ospreay who kind of fills some of that too, but in his own way. And I feel like Kenny and Jay are two people that have both taken the opportunity with that kind of person leaving to kind of make their own space,
Absolutely.
And I think they've risen to the occasion, and this is just the very tip of it. We haven't seen it all, so I think the next year or two is super important.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Will Ospreay. I feel like when he had that match against Ricochet that everyone was talking about. He was still scratching the surface, and just then he was getting the entire wrestling world talking about, and years have passed now since then, and I feel like both of them took a lot of the criticism that they got from some of the anti-flippy types or whatever, and really tried to up their game, become more rounded as a whole, and you can see it. I mean, the wrestler that Will Ospreay is right now is so much more defined and captivating than what we saw a few years ago, and that's why that match was so good. I mean, to be honest with you, I might have liked that match more than, and this is I'm gonna get shit on for this, but I might have liked that match more than Okada versus Kenny. I mean, like that match was, man, it was just so good. I just was like so invested while watching it.
I mean, I mean. It's wrestling, right? I mean, it's art, right? So we can like this painting better than that painting, and this music video better than that music video. I mean, it's just, and it's all about how you feel sometimes that day, what you're doing. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but maybe I will.
Might as well.
Ryan's pushing me. No, I saw. Speaking of Seth Rollins, I saw what he like said to Will or something.
Yes,
like something.
He said we have a better version of you.
Yeah, I completely dispute that, and nothing against Ricochet. He is one of my very good friends, but if you're going to say something like that because you want to wave the banner around, it's like, well, are you sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure we have the better version of whatever you're talking about, And I think that Ospreay is just, like you said, from that match when him and Ricochet went, whatever, a couple years ago in the Super Junior, they both have completely different trajectories from that point, but I think Will has really grown so much more than any other wrestler I've seen in that short amount of time. And I think that he's probably on the top 5 list at this moment,
I would agree.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I would agree with you in that regard. So. I thought, we were talking before about how, everyone should have, loyalty towards the company that they're putting all this time towards. But I agree with you that a shot at one of the other wrestlers, especially someone who is putting in the type of match, the caliber of matches that Will Ospreay is putting in, didn't really seem necessary. That seemed more like, well, that's not helping anything.
Right. He's playing the game.
Yeah.
Like he's playing a little bit, So, hey, whatever, Seth. I mean, it's all business.
And lastly, Super J Cup. Super J Cup's coming to...
Yeah, tickets went on sale today. So,
Yep.
So, which is cool.
So make sure you guys go buy those if it's coming to your town. It's going to be LA, right? LA, San Francisco, and... What's the last place?
Seattle.
That was the other one.
So, Seattle, San Francisco, and then Long Beach. We're back at the
Walter Pyramid,
which is a beautiful building.
Place is cool. I like that place.
It's a great place to watch wrestling.
It is a great place to watch wrestling.
Great place to watch wrestling. So, if you're in the LA area, tickets are really affordable too. So, go and check it out. It's gonna be. It's one of those things that like you're gonna say like what you just said like about Dallas is like you're gonna be kicking yourself that you didn't go and do it. So definitely go. And what's cool about the Walter Pyramid is every seat is good.
It really is.
So it doesn't matter if you get the cheap seat or the expensive seat.
I was standing like at the top even where I wasn't even in my seat and I could see everything perfectly.
Everything. Yeah, it's everything. It's really one of those perfect buildings for professional wrestling. I feel like. So,
yeah, no, I liked it a lot.
So don't even go and spend a lot of money. Just go. Make sure you're there, I feel like, and...
you can spend money while you're there, too, though, if you want.
Yeah, no, for sure. But,
helps rock you with that house and stuff,
RockyRomeroMerch.com. but
Chico El Luchador.
But, it's going to be something special because it's the J Cup, and it's the first time, outside of Japan that it's being done.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's going to have that caliber of, like, a Will Ospreay and those kind of, folks that are hopefully will be a part of it. So it's like, you don't want to miss it, and that's the finals is going to be there, so it's kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that. And before we get out of here, are you allowed to talk at all about this report that came out about Gado at all that said he was leaving the company?
I haven't heard anything.
Haven't heard anything about it. Yeah, it seemed like there would have been more. It would have been like a bigger deal if that was something that was happening.
Yeah, I think just people make up stuff sometimes to get clicks, I guess, or something. I don't know.
No, they do. I work in news. I'm not one of those people, but I mean, there are people who do that. I mean, it's. I wouldn't say they. I don't think there's one guy sitting there going like, what can I make up today to get some clicks? I think that someone feeds them, info that might not be great, and they go like, hell yeah, running with that.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever. Wherever they got their info, they probably should check their sources.
Yeah, that's
basically
pretty key thing
what
to
it
do
comes
when you're
down
working
to.
in news. All right, well, make sure if you're in the LA area and you're an aspiring pro wrestler in the beginning stages, you check out Rocky's seminars at the New Japan LA Dojo on July 9th. You can find all the info on his Twitter page. I swear you won't find takes on there.
Or just go to njpw1972.com for that.
There you go. And then the Dallas event, kickoff for G1 July 6th. Tickets are still available. Same website? Ticketmaster for that. Okay, cool. And where can people find everything that you're doing besides that?
You can go to rockyromeromerch.com. You can support there. You go to Pro Wrestling Tees, ChicoLuchador.com. And, follow me on Twitter. I will blast your Twitter with all kinds of promotional stuff all the time.
Lots of positivity.
Yeah, if you're trying to get just some information, I'm definitely always helping to get the info out. So.
All right, well, thank you so much.
We also got Australia this this weekend.
I told you there was a lot that
there's a lot going on internationally for New Japan. But so we're in Melbourne and Sydney. I don't know, I'm sure you got followers there too. So come check us out, Melbourne and Sydney, on the 29th and the 30th, I believe.
I'll pull it up right now. I saw Twitter.com.
I have so many
I think
dates.
you're right.
I have so many dates going through my head. But yeah, if not, then just check out my Twitter or the New Japan Global. It's at NJPW Global and has all the information. Southern Showdown.
Here we go. Yeah. Melbourne, June 29th. Sydney, June 30th.
Yeah. And 29th is going to be Ospreay versus Robbie Eagles, so that's going to be
going to be dope.
That's going to be sick. Every time they wrestle or touch each other, it's like amazing. So.
And and like I said, make sure you guys check out the G1. It's going to be dope this year. I'm so pumped for that.
I'm going to be doing English commentary most
dope.
likely, so
awesome.
That's going to be cool. So I'll have the best seat in the house to enjoy. I mean, last year was crazy. It was such a great experience.
That's got to be so cool to be front row for all that. Like you're like even
so
better
cool.
than front row. So,
cool.
especially
It's
for
so
that
cool.
caliber of matches,
Yeah.
and there's like weeks of it.
And it's cool because I just get to be like a fan for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm just like totally invested in everything, and that's why like I get so amped and excited. Like you can tell when I'm like really excited about something that's going on. I'm like, oh, Kevin! I'm like shaking and hitting Kevin. Like, did you see that? And then he's like, okay, get off me! I gotta call the show.
Well, that's the best part about it, though, is that you've wrestled since 1997 and you haven't lost your passion for it. You're very much still a fan. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. And like I said, I'm so amped about the New Japan product. I'm amped about what everybody's doing really in wrestling, but like I'm really just amped about the product because I'm so like involved in it and getting to be commentary and watching and it's crazy. And that's whatever. I'm done.
Well, thank you so much for coming here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
ProWrestlingSheet.com